Thank you, Sam. This is Andy. I'm going to go ahead and start off today's program. At one point, John and I were sitting back, and we've done Regulation E. He and I have both taught Regulation E at various schools and webinars. And we've done Regulation E and Visa cards and MasterCards and other vendor-type products, but we've never done Reg E and ACH. And I recently had some issues with ACH, so it kind of brought it up to the forefront for me and said, you know, maybe we should do a program on this. So this is kind of the first time that we're doing this, and I'm going to talk a lot about the Reg E. John's going to chime in on pretty much all the ACH, but again, he's also a Reg E expert, so he's going to throw in a lot of information on that as well. We're going to start off by a couple of housekeeping things. A lot of times I've got fairly detailed materials, and John and I have given you a packet that's like 25 pages or so. There is a lot of content in the slides, and we're going to try and draw your attention to the screen or to the printed slides that you have for those as well. On those slides, in most cases, you're going to see page numbers up in the right-hand corner of those slides, and that's where you can refer back to the materials. So you've got kind of a good cross-reference because the materials themselves have a lot of the core issues in them. The slides, especially the additional slides, we've got a lot of pictures so that we can raise people's awareness, and you can use those slides and those materials as you train people within your institution to say, hey, this is how this happens. And one of the reasons that I went fairly graphic intensive in those slides with pictures of skimming devices and such is because time and again we hear from bankers who just don't seem to understand that skimming happens. And one of the tests that I recommend you often use is, okay, if this was my mom or my grandma, how would I look at this claim? Well, you know, the person had an unauthorized transfer came out of their account, and they said that they never lost their card. Their card's been in their wallet. There are bankers who will say, if your card's in your wallet, then you must have done the transaction, claims denied, we're moving on. And they leave it right there. And if the customer doesn't complain to a regulator, if the customer contacts me through like our banking questions, we have a sister site to BOL, I would say go to your regulator. Go to somebody else in the bank, higher up, and complain, or go to your regulator, or both, because they can't just make that assumption, because some bankers just don't get that skimming happens. So a little bit of intensiveness with regards to that, because I hear from it time and again. Now, as far as today's agenda goes, we're going to look at, basically, we're going to kind of follow Regulation E, and then where ACH rules come in, John's going to chime in and say, oh, and watch out for this, and watch it. Here's the contrast. It's a complement or a contrast. We're going to talk about some of the definitions, because when you get into the regulations, definitions are key. We're going to talk a little bit about pre-authorized transactions, because those can be a little bit unique with regards to what kind of claim we had, what kind of stop we had, how those issues work. Very quickly, we'll talk about retention. Not a whole lot there, but banks can't throw away things. We're going to talk a lot about claims, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. This is not a basic Reg E or ACH where we're going to focus on what disclosures have to be made, when, how you have to handle change notices and such. A lot of banks, the focus here is, well, we're losing money. What can we do to, A, reduce our losses, and B, protect our customers? So you want to do both of those things. At the same time as you want to reduce your losses, you don't want to infringe or impinge on the rules and the laws that you have to follow. We'll talk a little bit about payroll cards and a little bit about penalties. We've also got, because there's a lot of misconceptions, so we've got a few slides where we're going to talk about some myths that people have with regards to Regulation E. And John can throw in any that he wants to on the ACH side. I didn't prepare any particular slides for that because I'm not sure what myths are out there, but I'm sure that we'll hear from John as far as that goes. We're going to do a quick inventory of the materials in just a minute, but I want to start with going down to slide number 2, where we're looking at the agenda, and page number 1 in your materials. And in that page, I want to just point out the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, as we look at that introduction. The EFTA is a law, and on top of that law, you can put other restrictions. That is, the federal government may say the speed limit is 75, but a city or town can say, okay, we're going to reduce that speed limit within our area to 65. They can say that this is going to be beneficial to the consumer in our particular case, as we talk about Regulation E. We're not going to go way beyond. We're not going to vary from the federal requirements. So the EFTA law says this is what you must do. You can put things on top of that that are beneficial to the consumers that's going to allow them to do something a little bit different, but you can't take away any of the rights that they have in the law. And as you begin to focus on Regulation E versus debit card rules such as Visa or MasterCard or ACH rules, you can always do more than Reg E requires. You can never do less. And you ask yourself, do I want to violate the law or the guidelines that I have with a vendor? John, do you want to talk real quickly about where some of the NACHA rules come from?
Well, NACHA is the Electronic Payments Association, and it used to be called, and this is where they get their name from, it used to be called the National Automated Clearinghouse Association, and it's an association of clearinghouse operators and of regional associations that are all geared up for promoting the use of automated clearinghouse transactions in order to complete payments. They have done a huge amount of, shall we say, development of the automated clearinghouse system in this country from back in the days when most of the activity was government direct deposit, Social Security type stuff, to the point now where there are trillions of dollars and billions of transactions being handled every year through the automated clearinghouse. NACHA is the rule-making authority for that association, and I have a copy of the NACHA's rules book here in my office. They provide a copy. An online copy that you can access free of charge. They also have a copy of their rules and their guide the operating guide. That's available in a much more user-friendly format for those people who subscribe to the hard copy or CD, DVD version of their rules. So if you pay for it, you get a better source of materials. In any event, the Automated Clearinghouse Network is set up. It covers transactions that move anywhere within the United States and its territories. Wherever the U.S. banking system will reach, then NACHA transactions can reach.
Now, on the purpose on page 1, you can underline this or highlight it if you want to. I'll probably say it a couple of times. You see at the end of that first line it says, it is not intended to be fair to the financial institution. Reg E came out as a protection of the consumer. When computers first came out, it was like, these are monsters that are doing all these ones and zeros and they're just processing tons of data. And if, to err is human, to screw up really takes a computer, is what they used to say. So we didn't have a whole lot of trust in the technology. As a result, Regulation E is very much biased towards the consumer's rights. And in today's program, we're going to look at some of the core issues of Regulation E, mainly that are going to impact those claims and the liability for the consumer. And, of course, that means there's also liability to the institution, the bank. I'm going to use bank as that term applies to banks, credit unions, et cetera. And then again, we're going to have some contrast to the ACH rules as we begin to look at some of those issues. You've got some resources on this slide. On page 2 in your materials, I've got down the Regulation E link to the tools. John keeps the BOL tools in just a fantastic functioning shape, such now that they're not just a place to go as a reference, but instead they are a real resource. You need an updated copy of Regulation E. You can go to the BOL alphabet soup section, and you're going to find it. Not only do you have the regulation and the official staff commentary, which are going to be current, but when there are changes proposed or changes that are finalized, John has built in tables that will have links to the Federal Register that's